My name's Kylie.
I am Megan.
My name's Tyler.
Jenna.
Conley.
Hi, my name is Jillian Bolt, and today I will be teaching you how to make a chocolate cake. So chocolate cake is a pretty easy recipe that I found. You want to make sure that you have an easy recipe that you are comfortable with, that is a trustworthy site. I used allrecipes.com, and it is a 1 bowl chocolate cake. So you'll start by taking your dry ingredients, and we have a 3/4 a cup of flour, 3/4 a cup of cocoa, a cup of white sugar, half a teaspoon of baking powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. And we'll mix all that, and we also need to start some water to boil, because we will need some boiling water. So after you have all that in the bowl, you'll want to mix it with a whisk. And you'll want to make sure it's all incorporated evenly throughout, so that the baking soda and baking powder are unevenly throughout the batter. So after that, you'll want to make sure you have a pan greased and lined. If you use parchment paper, it prevents sticking on the bottom of the pan when you go to take the cake out. So then you'll add half a cup of milk and 1 egg. And if you take the egg and crack it on the cup, it prevents eggshells from being in the cake. And if you happen to get eggshells in, you can use the eggshell to get it out more efficiently. And then you just can toss that, or if you're into compost, you can compost it in a compost bin. So then you'll add the egg into the mixture as well. And then you'll have a teaspoon of vanilla and half a cup of oil. So then you'll mix that all really, really well, and you'll have a pretty thick batter. And it thickens with time. You kind of have to mix it quite well. Maybe not get it all over the floor. So after you have that all mixed, you'll go and see if your water is ready. And it's just about boiling, so we'll give it another minute. We'll need half a cup of water, so if we want to get out a bowl, put the water in. So then if you want to dump the water into a bowl, get more efficient. And then just take half a cup and put the warm water into the cake batter. The cake batter will then turn really thin, and it takes quite a while to mix it because the water doesn't want to incorporate itself into the thick batter. So you'll want to let this sit for a little bit before you put it in the oven. So you can go ahead and preheat the oven. My recipe calls for 350 degrees. So I'll have that preheated. And once it becomes completely preheated, you'll want to continue stirring this, making sure the batter is a nice smooth flour, cocoa, and your batter when the cake is done. So after that's completed, you can take a spatula and run it along the sides just to make sure that you got all of the dry ingredients and all of the wet ingredients combined together. And then you'll pour that into your pan. My go-to is about halfway full, so that it doesn't spill out on the sides when it's in the oven. Once you have your batter into the pan, you can go ahead and put that into the oven. And my recipe called for 30 to 35 minutes, so you'll do 30 because that's the lowest amount of time. So once you have 30 minutes on there, you can start the clock and it should be good. Do you have any questions on how to make the batter at all?
No.
So after you have the cake done, you'll want to move it to a wire rack after it cools for 10 minutes in the pan. So after you have that done, then you can transport it to the wire rack and then put it on a plate, and you can frost it to how you would like it. And then there you have a simple, effective way to make a delicious chocolate cake. Would you guys like to try it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let's find a good knife to cut it. So this cake should make about 6 to 8 servings, depending on the piece that you have. If you cut it all the way across through the middle, that will give you a good guideline, and then you can cut it again into fourths. And then, depending on how big you want the cake pieces to be and how many people you are serving, you can go ahead and cut it into smaller pieces. So this cake has about 8 pieces, which is pretty good considering it's a smaller cake. So after you're done cutting it, you will put it onto a plate. Maybe. And give it to your audience. What do you think?
Thank you.
Yep. And Conley is gluten-free, so he cannot eat this cake. So, he will not be doing that. And then you'll want to make sure that you wash all of your dishes. If you take your batter and soak it in the bowl that you had your batter in and soak it in warm water, it can make it easier to get all of the stuff off. And you'll want to use warm soapy water to clean all of your dishes. And this recipe is a pretty effective and simple way to make a cake with little mess.